All right, so quick plug for not my YouTube channel as we start this YouTube video that I know at least a few people are going to be using because we have a few people absent today. What YouTube channel do you think I'm about to plug? Math with Mr. Dell, because as people have come to ask me questions, some of them aren't on his channel, but other ones are. Like what I alluded to yesterday when we were talking in class about 10% method and how we can do it from any percent. This problem, 24, starts you by essentially telling you 40% is 28. But if you need help walking through it, go check out Math with Mr. Dell because he walks through it. Now, he might do things slightly differently than how we are used to setting it up. So I'm not saying that you can just blindly come on here and expect it to be the same of what we do. I would use proportions, but there's a lot of ways to get through problems. Adding like terms, right? Simplifying the expressions. Or working on the scale factor problem that we actually talked about yesterday. It's still interesting to me that some people are doing their own work right now when I have started class. So, if we look at the mastery, our first question here dealing with the algebra maths, or the expression maths, or whatever, it's an equality math because it's got the double bars down the middle. Now, Tisha's saying that we don't need to freak out, and another student is freaking out. Thank you. Can anyone tell me what you thought about this student freaking out? And guys, we should all be looking at the front of the test. I know you have feedback on the front, but you don't have feedback on the rest of it. So I realize a lot of you need a push in the right direction. So we should all have our test in front of us. It's easy for me to see if you have those expression maths sitting in front of you. Anyone want to tell me what you thought about, should you freak out about these XY tiles or no? Lane?
No, it's kind of the same as squares, like it's not different, like they don't really make a huge difference.
And why don't they really make a huge difference? What can we do with them?
They cancel out.
Yeah, we can get rid of both of them. So we don't need to worry about those XY tiles. We can just get rid of them. And then we keep doing the same thing with all the other tiles that we can get rid of to simplify. A lot of us got A right. And I know there's no A, B, because it was just annoying to fit it into the test. B, a lot of us accidentally stopped after we did a couple things. So, like, we said this is X, even though it wasn't labeled for some reason. We could take an X off both sides. We could take another X off both sides. We could take, well, actually, we should start with making zeros. Right, so 0, I'm going to do this as 0, so then I can do this as 0, and I still have that negative left. 0, 0, 0. And guys, a lot of us got to a point where you wrote out what you still had. And you had some amount, I'm not writing the right answer, but you had like 2x minus 1 equals like 3x plus 2, or something like that. That's not the right answer. You're not done. You need to keep going, because actually you could keep doing stuff on the mat, or you could do the algebra that we know how to do, that you have the cheat sheet that talks you through the best steps for solving. You have that cheat sheet. The one side's vertical, the one side's horizontal. Kind of did that on purpose so it like sticks out in your binder. So if I wrote on your test, keep going, or like a question mark or something like that, you aren't done. And this should come out to be a whole number. No. It comes out to be not a whole number. That's the note I wanted to make to you, is that's not a whole number. You could leave it as a fraction, because fractions are often better than decimals. Boundary points. Guys, I give you the hint. Think about speed limits or roller coasters or things like that. So if I think about a roller coaster problem, do roller coasters normally have like a maximum height or like a minimum height? Like a minimum, right? Because if you're not tall enough, it's not safe enough. So you might put down some height here. Like, somebody give me a height you might have to be for a roller coaster.
Like 49 inches?
49 inches? Sure.
5 feet. Wait.
Yeah, 5 feet was kind of what I was thinking. But. So then you need to talk about, you need to talk about what you're going to shade and why, explaining it somehow. So am I going to shade in this dot? Why or why not? Am I going to shade left or right? Why or why not? That's what you need to talk about here. So boundary point, you got to give me an example. And guys, it needs to be a comparison. So here, if we're talking height, you might make your comparison. The height needs to be greater than or equal to 49, but now you need to show me how we graph that. You cannot write something, and I'm speaking to someone who did this, you cannot just write like that. Like, that's true, but that's not a comparison involving a variable that we can graph. That's just saying 2 is less than 5, and that's true, but that doesn't help us with graphing inequalities. Now, if I said instead of 2 is less than 5, if I said x is less than 5, now I can graph that. Questions? I know I gave you guys feedback on this stuff. On 3, guys, about half of us had this written out right. So we're going to start it together. A lot of you should pay attention right now because you wrote this wrong. Anyone want to help me with what 2 less than tells us to do? Ready? -2. Not 2 minus. That would be 2, then something taken away from it. 2 less than is I got to take 2 away from. Well, that's what I need to figure out next. What am I taking 2 away from? What am I taking 2 away from? 3 times a number. And then what's the comparison we get told? Is greater than or equal to what? And a lot of you got this highlighted on your paper because you didn't do that. So even if you wrote this out, you're not done. We got to get x by itself, and we got to isolate. Now, hold on. If you're looking at this, like, I can't quite remember what to do. Let's jump to problem 8. No. 7. Jump to problem 7. Like literally flip on your paper to problem 7. This was one that I was looking at, and like some of us knew what to write, some of us didn't write anything. Guys, writing I don't know. I mean, okay, so it tells me you don't know, but so does leaving it blank. So like you don't really need to write I don't know if you don't know. Michaela made a mistake. Us finding that mistake will help us as we do the rest of the test. Zane, what's Michaela's mistake?
She subtracted 4 from negative 4, which would make negative 8, but instead she made 0.
This would actually make negative 8 because negative 4 minus 4, that's not what she meant to do. What did she mean to do? What was she trying to do?
Make it 0.
She was trying to make a 0. So what should she have done?
Plus 4.
She should. Hey, you can write this. This is the answer. I'm giving you the answer here. If you didn't do it the first time, this should have been plus 4. Should have plus 4 to make 0. Right? Inverse operations. Since it's negative 4, we want a plus 4. So if we come back to here, since it's negative 2, I know it looks like minus, but we've learned that's really negative. What would you do first? Take a moment and do it. Like on your paper, if you need to, on your test paper or your graph paper. I also stopped grading so you can change whatever you want to change and you don't have pen written on it. We're back on the front now that you're not paying attention because you're playing with this. I'm going to throw this away. Can I trust you sitting back here now? Because you're just now getting out of the writing utensil. We got to isolate x. A lot of us did not do the work to isolate x. Once we get x isolated, then we'll graph it, which is what we're doing on this problem too. But I'm going to do a little I told you so and show you Schoology.
Love school.
Guys, if you need another copy of this cheat sheet, they're in the back of the room right above your homework. There's a post-it that says if you need one, take one. In Schoology, in Chapter 6, where this came from. Best steps for solving equations. This walks me through everything I need to do because someone who teaches this went through and did this because they knew the mistakes you would make. So with A, flip over to 4 if you haven't flipped to 4 yet. You can come back and finish 3 if you need to. Put your eyes on mine so I know you're listening, or at least hope you're listening. I stopped marking your test so you can change whatever you want to after my advice. If at the end of class you like everything that's on your test, turn it back in. If you want more time to fix it, turn it in after break. Yeah, now you can take it home with you. You can use whatever notes, whatever homework, whatever. Try to get it done as best as possible. Get it back to me on that Monday. Okay, so not this Monday because no one's here. Spring break, yay. We need to get the variable by itself. I'm going to help you all with C because it's the hardest one. So A and B, you should be able to do after we've talked about C. If you look at the cheat sheet, and can somebody get out a cheat sheet if nobody has it out yet?
What cheat sheet?
The best steps for solving equation, like the equation solving cheat sheet. The one that one side's vertical, the other side's horizontal. Thank you, Kamal. If there are variables on both sides, what's it say to do, Kamal? If there are variables on both sides. I believe so. It says like if there's a lot of terms, combine like terms. So we don't need to combine like terms here. Donna?
What I did was like I got rid of the -1 on the first side.
You're right, but that's not on my cheat sheet. That's not what I tell you to do first. You're right. You're just putting steps switched around. So you're right. But what I would do first is what you're about to tell me to do second.
And then you would do like the smallest number of like x. I added x.
I like to look at variables first. So on the cheat sheet, what I tell you to do, and guys, this is being recorded. Emery, I totally don't have your attention. Get rid of the lowest variable. The lowest, so if it's negative, it's lower than the positive. How do I get rid of negative x? And if you didn't do this yet, you should be writing this down. Sophie? Add x because we're trying to get rid of that one. Then this one will try to turn into 1x. So then now we have 4x. I should see lots of people writing this down based off how many people didn't have this problem done. Which, yeah, this was the most challenging, which is why I'm helping you with that one. The x's have claimed the left side. This -1, you all know I don't like subtraction. So plus the negative. How do I get rid of a negative 1? Anybody? We add, and this is the trap door, the mistake Michaela made. Be careful, you want to use inverse. If it's negative, we use positive. If it's minus, we add. If it's multiplication, we divide. Right? We're saying, what's the inverse operation? And we do it on both sides.
Shoma hates that.
Yeah, and she won't be here for like a month because she's going to India. So now we have one final step to do that I'm not going to write up here, but if we're trying to undo multiplication, in your head or on your paper, what do you do? In your head. Fine, already said it out loud. What do we do? Yeah, we divide. Sure hope you know that without people shouting it out. Then we're gonna graph that. And if you don't know how to graph that, go review graphing. All right, so A and B you should be able to do on your own there. Same thing here with solving equations. It's exactly what that cheat sheet told us to do. Except, guys, on all of these, you only have a variable in one spot. So your job, and what you might do with a highlighter or whatever, I want to get that by itself. Get rid of the 38, get rid of the 6. I want to get that by itself. Get rid of the 8, get rid of the 4. I want to get that by itself. What do I need to get rid of? What do I need to get rid of? With the K, what do I need to get rid of to get K by itself? What is this number? -7 and the 9. You could make a note on your paper right now of how you would get rid of that -7 to make sure you do it right. Do not say it out loud. How would you get rid of that -7? Don't say it out loud. On 6, we can write out what we see here. And because I've done this test for a couple years, I went ahead and wrote it out for you. 2x plus 6, right? We see 2x and 6. That's equal to 40. How do we figure out what x is? Guys, now we can visually do what you're doing. And this is like, if you didn't want to solve those equations, skip it, come down here, and then go back. Guys, if I visually want to do this, I can cut this off. And that's going to take 6 away from 40. Oh yeah, because I could minus 6 from both sides to start solving my equation. Visually, I can make it make sense. In 7, we already talked about that. Amara found x is 8. Claire is not quite sure. They asked to be put in this question, by the way, just because they were in my room while I was editing the test. If you're in my room while I'm editing the test, I'll see if you want to be in the questions. So you can do this a couple different ways. You could solve it and show, did you get the same answer? Or you could plug it in to check it, right? If you make x 8, is this true? So you could do a couple different things to prove who you agree with. Safe and Lane has to be put in this question. So Safe starts by doing this. And he does the distribution of the times 4. Lane is like, nah, man. Let's make life easier and just start by dividing by 4. Are either of them wrong? Are either of them right? Like, write a little note about, do either of them need some advice? Or are they both doing the right thing, but two different things? I mean, they definitely did different things. The question is, are both things right? In 10, more equation solving. They're just slightly tougher. So if you couldn't do the other equations, you probably can't do this. But if you can do the other equations, this is how I really can see, are you really mastered? This question wouldn't necessarily bring you down to progressing. There's more steps to keep track of. The other equation problem is more important. This one, testing, can you write it out? I would highlight. Severus notices that Lily's score is 15 points higher than his. Lily's score is. Lily's score is. Yes, Severus noticed, but then he says Lily's score is. The sum of their two scores, I need both of them. So to sum their two scores, Severus and Lily. And yeah, that means you must be able to get over 100 points, right? Because points are silly. We all know that. We've been at Phoenix for a year. Points are silly. Sometimes you can get over 100. I have a feeling one of them got over 100. Kate is twice George's age. How would we write that? That Kate is twice George's age. Come on. Yeah, it's nicer to put the times 2 in front, but you're right, yeah. Or we changed this, right? This was a typo. This was supposed to be 2. Oh yeah, Mary Lou.
Oh.
That was my neighbor growing up. That's where that name came from. So Mary Lou is 2 years younger than George. Who can help me write Mary Lou is 2 years younger than George? Emery?
Like 2 minus G.
Nope.
I think I saw.
2 years younger.
G minus 2.
Yeah, guys, that tells you got to take 2 away from something. What are we taking 2 away from? The G. So this needs to be G minus 2.
Hey, Mr. Hudson.
So you
I think
you
this was
flipped the
Yeah.
you flipped the names. So
Mary Lou was
Mary Lou is twice what you say.
Well, why'd you guys let me say it wrong?
Mary Lou. No, because
Am I looking at a piece of paper right now?
Yes.
No, I'm trusting you guys. I trust you guys.
Yes, it's Mary Lou is 2G. George is just G. Kate
All right,
is the G
so
minus
Mary Lou. All right, so Mary Lou is twice the age. Kate.
Yeah.
And then wait, who have we not written down yet?
George.
Oh, don't forget about George. George. George of the jungle. Watch out for that.
George.
Nobody?
I said it.
Oh.
No, it's watch out for that tree.
Oh,
You guys never seen George of the Jungle?
No, is that?
Y'all need to get some culture.
You
It
mean
was
like
just a kid's movie when I was a kid.
Sure.
All right, so
I think I've heard that.
then the sum of all their ages. Oh, I can see Jane's judgmental face even behind her mask. She's like looking like, "What, you always ask if we've seen these things. We never have." And this one, I actually might advise that you 5D process. Sometimes if we don't know how to do the complicated math, and I literally did this tutoring last night, said, okay, there's a tougher way to solve this, or there's like using some of our more middle school skills, and she said, look, I have a test tomorrow. Don't teach me anything. Tell me how to use what I know. So guys, let's use what we know. What's the area formula for a triangle? Yeah, base times height divided by 2, or you could say 1/2 base times height. So base times height divided by 2, or like 1/2 base times height. I like this formula better. It's not which one is better. I just like that one better. The base is twice the height. How do I write the base is? Well, base is, how do I write twice the height? 2h. Oh wait, so where I have base down here, I can rewrite that as the, so 2h times h divided by 2. Because now I can honestly just kind of guess h's. What am I trying to make my area become? But I made it a small number, so there's not a whole lot of like range in what you're guessing. And you have the last 5 minutes to either keep fixing this or work on homework or turn in whatever you need to or contemplate life's many questions or
What is that? Why are we here?
What is the letter A? Spell 2H.
Wait.
All right. Now I have to show you guys.
No, it's A. Oh yeah.
Is your recording?
I've
Yeah,
heard
I'm
this
gonna
song.
pause it because I'm
I've heard
gonna
this